All right, if you're going to build any kind of software, you absolutely need a plan. For a long, long time, one of the biggest, most influential plans out there was the waterfall model. So what exactly is this classic approach to building things? And, why should we even care about it today? Let's dive in and break it all down.
You know how it is. It always starts with a simple question, right? You've got this amazing idea for an app, a new piece of software, but how in the world do you get from that idea in your head to a real, working product on a screen? That's the big problem, and it's what every project management method is trying to solve.
And one of the first, most structured answers to that question was the waterfall model. Honestly, the name is perfect. Just picture a waterfall. The water flows from one level down to the next, and it can't go back up. That's exactly it. Each phase has to be totally finished before the next one can even start. There's no going back. It's just a straight shot from beginning to end.
So what does this straight shot actually look like in practice? Well, we're about to walk through the whole thing, step by step. The absolute best way to think about this is like you're looking at a super detailed blueprint for a skyscraper. Every single wire, every pipe, every bolt is planned out before a single person steps onto the construction site.
So here's the roadmap. These are the 6 big stages of the journey. You start by figuring out all the requirements, then you design it, you build it, you test it, you launch it, and then you maintain it. To make this really, really clear, we're going to follow one example project through all 6 of these phases.
Okay, phase 1. Everything kicks off right here, and honestly, this is where a waterfall project lives or dies. In this phase, you write down absolutely everything the system is supposed to do. For our example, let's say we're building an inventory management system. That means listing out features like order tracking and real-time stock levels. It all goes into one giant document. And once that's signed off on, that's it. It is set in stone.
Right, so once the what is locked in, we move on to the how. This is the design phase. The engineers take that huge requirements document and basically turn it into a technical blueprint. They figure out the architecture, what kind of database to use, how all the pieces are going to talk to each other. For our inventory system, this is the moment they decide on the perfect database to handle all that critical stock info.
And now it's time to actually build the thing. Implementation is just a fancy word for the coding phase. Developers grab those super detailed design docs and start writing the code. They build out every single piece, one module at a time, following that blueprint to the letter. So, our order management feature, this is where it actually gets programmed into existence.
So the parts are built. Now it's time for quality control. In the testing phase, every little piece gets checked and double-checked. Then comes integration, where you put all the Lego bricks together. And this is a huge moment. For our inventory system, this means making sure the stock part and the order part are talking to each other perfectly. If there's an error here, you're looking at a disaster when this thing goes live.
But hey, just because the system is launched doesn't mean the work is done. Not even close. The final phase, maintenance, is all about the product's life out in the real world. Once it's up and running, this stage is all about fixing bugs that people find, patching security holes, and just, keeping the lights on and making sure it runs smoothly.
Okay, so we've walked through the blueprint. It's clean, it's structured, it's incredibly logical. But now it's time to step back and take a harder look at that plan, because its greatest strength is also the source of its biggest, most painful weakness.
You can immediately see why this was so popular, especially with managers, right? The biggest plus for the waterfall model is how clear it is. Every single stage has a specific goal, and it creates tons of documentation. That makes it super easy to track progress, manage the budget, and explain what's happening to stakeholders.
And here it is, the giant, flashing, million-dollar question. This whole structured plan is fantastic as long as nothing changes. Ever. But what happens when you're 6 months into coding and the client suddenly says, "Oh wait, we forgot a really important feature." What do you do then?
This right here is the model's fatal flaw. It's Achilles' heel. Because every phase is locked before the next one starts, trying to go backwards is incredibly hard and ridiculously expensive. Changing a requirement isn't just a small edit. It can mean you have to tear down and rebuild huge chunks of the project, leading to massive delays and blowing the budget completely.
So this is the trade-off you're making, plain and simple. On one hand, you get this perfectly structured process with amazing documentation and super clear milestones. But on the other hand, you're stuck with zero flexibility, crazy high costs if you need to change anything, and the very real risk that by the time you actually finish, the world has moved on and your product isn't even what people need anymore.
So, with that massive drawback, you have to wonder, does this old-school model even have a place in our super fast-paced, constantly changing world? Is this blueprint still useful at all?
And believe it or not, the answer is yes, but with a big asterisk. The waterfall model can still be a great choice, but only for projects where the requirements are 100% clear, completely stable, and you know for a fact they are not going to change. Think about building software for a NASA space shuttle or a nuclear power plant. You really need to know every single detail before you write a single line of code.
In fact, that exact rigidity is what led to a whole new way of thinking, what we call agile methods. Instead of one long, straight road, agile works in short little loops, or sprints. It's designed from the ground up to expect change and adapt on the fly. It's basically the complete opposite of Waterfall's plan everything first philosophy.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Even if a project's requirements seem perfectly stable today, is locking yourself into the rigid waterfall model really the safest choice anymore? Or has the world changed so much that having some ability to adapt is essential for pretty much any project you can think of? At the end of the day, it's all about picking the right tool for the job.